If we're being really honest, just looking at the stats alone, Brooks, it was not exactly a mauling from the stats standpoint. There was 49% possession for the USA, 51% possession for Switzerland. Shots on goal, 7-0, Switzerland.
Yep.
Shot attempts in total, 12-7, Switzerland.
Yep.
Fouls, 8 on the USA, 10 on Switzerland. Yellow cards, 3-2, USA winning that battle. Corner kicks, 7-1, Switzerland, and saves. Switzerland's goalkeeper didn't even have to make a save during this game. Turner made 3, and I think right now Olympic Lyon have turned off their phone, and they are not answering the phone when Crystal Palace called to get that deal done, because he did not play well, in my opinion. All right, let's jump in. Listen, this was a predominantly, we'll say, MLS roster.
Usually is
For Gold Cups. And we got some graphics to show that in a little bit here that you put together. So that's good. There are people, that first half, there are a lot of people out there just saying the effort wasn't good enough. The effort wasn't there. I think there's a couple of things going on here, Brooks.
Yep.
One, I don't think the effort was there. And two, I just don't think these players are quite up to speed with the game at this level. Some of those players are so new to this stage, they're just not used to it. They're just not comfortable with it.
Don't disagree. I don't disagree.
Okay. All right, give it to me. What are your thoughts?
I'll start his name. Nathan Harriel, crap. Like,
he was bad. He got diced. Times.
He's not like he's a borderline MLS USL championship player.
100%.
He's just an academy kid that the Union are forcing to play because it's the Union, and they invest, and there's politics at that club, and they just want to put players through and say, hey, look at us, look what we do. We treat our own, and we sign them, and our coach has to deal with it. And
so how does Pochettino pull him in to this? Well,
hold on, I'm not done yet. Hold on a second.
I mean, he was bad. He
was. He's not coming back. He's not playing. Like, we're just going to take right now. He'd rather play someone else 90 minutes or more or whatever. He'll put another player there. You can put Brendan Aronson back there. He'd be fine.
Okay.
Quinn Sullivan. He was horrible in the U20s a couple years ago. I remember watching him play with all the hype. He's gotten better at Philadelphia Union. There's been talks of him going to Europe. I don't think that's a thing.
No.
He's an average MLS player at best. Listen, he has a little brother that's coming up that everyone's talking a lot about. I think this is a good sign of not to believe the hype and what everyone shares on social media and everything. You got to give this time, and you got to watch the kid play.
Agreed.
Cardoso is not good enough. I don't care if he's at Real Betis. I don't care if he's in La Liga. His agent must be super good at convincing people and tricking people, and that he's really good, or he's just really good for the Spanish game, where he's just simple and can play sideways and backwards and doesn't lose the ball because maybe they don't press as much. Listen, like, everyone can't be Busquets. Busquets was a master at not being the most athletic player.
I'm not going to disagree with you there.
Not being the most athletic player, but could play sideways, backwards, and then turn and play forward. He just had vision like no one other.
Okay. Yeah, he wasn't good enough, and you've not liked him for a while.
No, I've never liked him. De La Torre has just turned a little bit for me. Paxton Aronson has been in a few times. He is not of the quality. He will probably be back in MLS or USL Championship at some time. He will get dumped by his European club. He's at FC Utrecht right now. I don't know if he's on loan, if he's still with the Bundesliga. Mark McKenzie was horrific. He's in League One.
Yep.
He's a step slow. He's not fast enough. Listen, another Union kid. So everyone I'm named, besides Cardoso, has been a Philadelphia Union kid. So,
okay.
What are we looking at here? Matt Turner was not good. And I think if you're going into the first game, what are you thinking, Pochettino? He was pretty horrific. I mean, the fourth goal was not his, upper 90. There's no way you're saving that.
You know what, though? I don't want to defend him at all, actually.
Sure.
But he did get a hand to it. He got a touch to it. And they do say, as a goalkeeper, if you get a hand to the ball, it shouldn't go in the net.
Correct.
Now, agreed. That was a phenomenal shot. That first goal, though, down low and hard, that's a tough one. The ball was scooting. That ball was moving, by the way.
It was deflected through. I mean, listen, Paxton Aronson didn't close down enough. And when you don't close down quick enough in space, this is what happens.
Can we before you go on,
Sure.
100%. I think you just nailed it.
Yeah.
And that is the part right there
Yeah.
that people are saying the effort. The effort wasn't there because there was no closing down anywhere.
Correct.
Now, you saw it at the start of the second half. Pochettino made several changes, and changes to guys who maybe are closer to being starters for the Gold Cup and closer to being starters for the 2026 World Cup, right? So you brought in a couple of players who've been on this level before. You could just instantly see.
Yeah.
The pressing and the work and the when to press and how to press as a unit was there. Switzerland in the second half, the start of the second half, they didn't really have to go after the game, right? They knew they were pretty much going to win. But at that point, you could see them get a little bit stifled. There was a couple times the ball went back to the goalie. He knocked it out of bounds to try to get rid of it because the USA was pressing as a team back and forth. In the first half, that just was not there. Now, I don't understand how it wasn't there because some of these players, that's their first, second, third, fourth, or fifth cap.
Well,
so it's a chance to step on the stage that everybody in the world is watching, and that's how you perform?
Correct. Well,
not good.
It's like what we've been knocking on all these former U.S. men's national team guys. I will say this: when DeMarcus Beasley, and the other commentators, Brian Dunseth and Martino and Howard, this is your chance to shine. And DeMarcus Beasley hit on the head. You may not get 90 minutes. You may get 145-minute half, and that is to prove
in your U.S. men's national team career. You've got to work,
and that is to prove if you are good enough for the U.S. men's national team. And if you're not willing to work in that 45 minutes, get the hell out of here.
And there are several
because
players.
Christian Pulisic and all those other guys are the same stuff that the guys don't want to play with.
Yeah, no. Those guys probably watched the game this morning and they went, "What the hell was this?"
Yeah,
I don't want to step on a field with a guy who's not going to work and press with me or work for the team. But here's the thing, Brooks. Professional soccer players, when they get to this level, they work because they do understand that they may never get this chance again.
Yep.
Does some of this fall to the coaching? Does some of this fall to the staff who hadn't prepared some of these young kids who are 19, 20, 21, 22 years old for this game and told them how to press together and how they want them to press?
To me, it's not a tactic thing. Here's where I think Pochettino feels at fault, and it's been brought up numerous times by different journalists and people. The biggest fault he didn't make, and some pundits like Dempsey have said it, there's not an American on the staff that knows the player pool. Inside U.S. soccer, soccer in general nowadays is very political. It's very agent-driven. It's very money-driven. I think Pochettino said, I have my scouts. They've been doing this for a long time. Why do I need to not trust them? And I think if you brought someone in like Tab Ramos, who's been very familiar with the player pool for a very long time and knows a lot of people and can find the right information to get, I think that's where Pochettino is kicking himself on taking fault. And maybe some in the tactics, maybe for sure. Maybe now he feels like we have to play 3 back with this group.
Sure.
For sure I could see that. But for me, I think that's where Pochettino's kicking himself is maybe I should have added like a Tab Ramos or someone else that can get more of this information, because I'm sure he's calling these clubs. He's probably calling Union. You don't send me that crap anymore, man. You don't send me this BS that you've given me. You know what I mean? And he's telling Turner's agent he needs to play somewhere. You know what I mean? It's obvious he said that before, but he's like, no more. For these next. I predict for these next ones after this Gold Cup, there will be certain people he will call in. He will not go back to certain people, and there's certain people he's only going to trust.
Yep.
And I think he will get a better feel coming in September in the next friendly windows for this group. This is why I'm not worried. This group needs to prove which one of the ones, if they're 9, 8, 10, how many guys you ever want to see that need to fit in with the 2026 World Cup team. Or maybe less than that, could be 5 or 4.
I'm going to guess 5 or 4.
It could be, because I think there's a lot of international guys like Aidan Morrison, Trusty, and Carter Vickers that'll get called in and they'll get their chance and everything. But of these domestic lads and these young guys, you don't have a lot of shots. And the reality is you've shown what you've had for Pochettino. You don't work, you're done.
This is an embarrassment in my opinion. It's an embarrassment to lose to Turkey 2-1 on your home soil, and then 3 days later lose 4-0 to Switzerland.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about this on the Sunday show. Switzerland and Turkey they're okay teams.
Sure.
They're okay. They're good. Let's put it that way. Turkey had a good run in the Euros.
Sure.
Switzerland had a good run as well. They played really well. Like, they got some really good players. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But if there's anything to go by, it's the FIFA rankings, and nobody likes the FIFA rankings. We don't believe them. But if we have to go by something, USA is ahead of both of those nations.
Yeah.
I think we are certainly outplayed
Yes.
by Switzerland. At large points in the game against Turkey, we were outplayed, but probably just lucky not to at least draw on that one. But this is a huge concern for me because I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. Pochettino was a club coach.
Sure.
He did some really nice things at Southampton. He proved that he could put players who are unknown and kind of average players into good spots, get them to perform, and move up the league and do something good. He had a couple of players sold from his club to Liverpool for large numbers. He had a couple of other players sold that he purchased and then sold for a lot of money.
Yep.
And then he made the move, right? He went to Tottenham, and he did really well at Tottenham, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
He got them to a Champions League final, lost in the final, unfortunately. He went to PSG. He did okay there. There were some issues, right?
Yep.
He was at Chelsea. I thought he should have been given another chance at Chelsea. They went for Maresca instead. But everybody's played for, everywhere he's been, they love him, and he does really well. So
he's very well respected.
He's very well respected, but he's a club coach because he can every single day on the training pitch work with those players. This is what I want. This is how I want it. This is what I'm looking for. Okay, we don't have what we need. I have a January window. I have a summer window. I can bring those players in. And he's been at, like I said, Chelsea, Tottenham, PSG. If they don't have what they need, guess what they do? Spend a lot of money and go out and get what they need. Can't do that here at the USA. I'm wondering right now if he's looking in the mirror going, did I make the wrong decision coming here to the USA? Because this is a completely different ball game. You can't just go buy players. You're stuck with what you got. And I don't think he knows really the depth of what he has. And I'm thinking at this point, Brooks, I'm going to give it the Gold Cup because we got Trinidad and Tobago coming up. We got Saudi Arabia coming up. And Haiti.
Yeah.
If we can't get wins in all three of those games, I don't care with who you roll out there. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm done. He took some flack last night. Mm-hmm. Pochettino did, because there were some prominent soccer people who we know here in the state of Michigan who were like, does this guy have any idea what he's doing? And it's embarrassing because we are 1 year away today from the start of the World Cup, and we are all expecting, at the minimum, a quarterfinal berth. That is what we're expecting. Anything more than that, we're going, yes, that's where we need to be. We need to be in the semis or the quarter semis. We need to be there. I don't see it happening, man. Yeah. I don't see it happening.
For me with Pochettino, I think he can coach international soccer. That's not a thing. I think the shocker to him, which Kyle Martino hit the point home last night after they interviewed Zimmerman last night. I don't know if anyone watched that interview, and then they were talking after. Mm-hmm. It's the entitlement factor with the U.S. player. It's the entitlement factor that you've always been the guy. You've never had to dealt through harsh stuff. I mean, there's been the past couple of days where a lot of the men, like especially Clint Dempsey, he's doing the stuff with the Men in Blazers now, and he's got his podcast with that guy. And, Clint talks about, like, when I was growing up as a kid, my parents worked 2 jobs. I had to literally go train myself. My parents drove me to Dallas twice a week to play matches. I'm like, no one's gotten any grit anymore. And I have always said this with the current MLS Next players, the majority of them, whether you play for an MLS academy or you play for a non-MLS academy, they have no grit. They have no will to go get the game, to go punch people in the mouth, like not figuratively, not like actually.
If that's what it takes, that's
go win the ball. Like, what do you do on your own? Like, everyone's entitled. Like, once you have the spot, like, you're given it, and it's not taken away because someone's gonna sue the club or like take the kid somewhere else, and everyone's afraid to leave. Or you're in an MLS academy and there's a billionaire, pushing players through or whatever, and there's politics going on, and you know what I'm saying? Like, this is why he hit it home. It's entitlement, and I don't think Pochettino understood the entitlement factor with the Americans, because I think there's entitlement in other countries, but not as much as there is here.
And that's what's going to kill this, because I don't think he can coach that out of players.
You can't. You can pick the right ones that are gritty, hopefully, but like you may not get the full squad that's the most talented. But that's okay. I'd rather take all of them that are not entitled.
Let's go back to a Christian Pulisic, right?
Yes.
Why did Christian Pulisic at the age of 16 years old want to move to Germany. Why did he want to go to the Bundesliga? Because one of the things I remember him saying, I think this was in his book, he said, listen, if I when I was here, 14, 15 years old, I had guys who were catering to me. They were, giving me everything I wanted me, telling me I was a superstar.
Yep.
I went to Germany at 16 years old, and I was forced to clean boots. I had to clean the boots of the senior level players.
Did you see the documentary?
Give a crap who he was. That's why he went there. And you know what? When he steps on the field, he shows that, as do some of the other players. Those players last night, they thought, I've made it. Look at me.
Exactly. Nothing can go wrong. There's no repercussions from how I play. Did you watch his documentary?
I haven't yet.
It's very good. And he goes very much into detail how lonely he was and how he had to work through things.
Sure.
None of these players, I get some have traveled across the country to go to MLS academies. Some have stayed home and close. But they've never
been treated like superstars.
Exactly. They've always been the guy.
Right.
15, 16, 17, 18 into the second team. Okay, I got to wait a little time, but I'm still going to start in the second team, and then I'm going to get in the first team, and I know I have a spot. That's just how it is with a lot of these kids, and it's not real.
Agreed. I think we're all on the same page there. One of the things I am a little upset about is, though, this was Pochettino's chance to really bring in some players to take a look at. I don't think he picked any of the right players. I think he's picking players that, as you said, maybe he's leaning on some of his other people, but
could be the Federation
could be
here,
but
but he'll figure it out.
He has to. He's got a year, and not a ton of opportunity, not a ton of opportunity to figure it out, and not a ton of opportunity once he has figured it out to work with those players. Because when at the highest level of the game, at the absolute highest level of the game, it's the fine margins that win games.
The small, not closing down, not making a certain pass, turning your body one way to play forward.
Bingo. Not pressing from the left, but pressing from the right. Not pressing hard enough. Not having your teammate close enough when you do press.
Not checking your shoulder.
Not checking your shoulder.
Yeah.
It's the little things. And if we don't have 2 or 3 players doing the little things when we go to play in the World Cup matches, we may not get out of the group stage. And we're paying $6 million a year for a top coach, right? And it will have been an absolute failure.
Correct.
And we will be embarrassed. It'll be just a complete embarrassment. And right now, we're almost there because of the way we've played in the last couple of weeks. He's lost 4 games in a row. Not good performances. Gold Cup starts this weekend. First game against Haiti. I believe it's Haiti.
The first one's Trinidad.
Trinidad and Tobago. Second game is Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Now everybody's going to go, oh, Trinidad and Tobago. We've beaten them several times.
They beat us.
They've beaten us as well.
They've given us good games.
And Saudi Arabia, guess who they beat in the very first game of the last World Cup? Argentina. Yes, they beat Messi-led Argentina.
Yes.
So on the day, they can win a game. And then Haiti. And who knows what happens there. So, there's some worry here. I'm giving him these 3 or 4 games, provided they can get out of the group and play an extra game or 2. But after that, if it doesn't look good and it doesn't feel good, I'm off the Pochettino train and I'm done with it.
Yeah, I just want to. You can run through the graphics I made. It's just, so I'll just kind of explain as Craig's getting this up. So what I did today is I was just curious, everyone's like, oh, what, Pulisic and McKennie and everyone. Well, everyone's got to remember, there's always these summer competitions that, the ICF and everything that the guys come back and play for, and the clubs don't let them go. And, the FIFA Club World Cup is the new one this year, and guys take rest. But I was curious, what's been the percentages and the breakdowns of the MLS players compared to? And I didn't, there were some years where multiple MLS teams sent clubs, but I just went overall, how many were represented, and then how many.
Let me, if I can assess
go for it.
This, right? So here's the players, your goalkeepers, defenders, midfield, forwards, and then clubs represented. Clearly, you've got the European or non-American, non-MLS clubs represented on the top line, and then MLS clubs or American clubs on the bottom line.
That was for that graphic. It was kind of vice versa the other way.
So you can see there are more MLS clubs here represented than there are European clubs. So, but for a lot of people last night, they thought this is a predominantly U.S. MLS roster. Clearly, Brooks.
This one is one of the more ones that's got more European guys in it.
Clearly not, right?
Correct.
Okay, so
because if you go in further years, it's interesting.
I was about to say, let's click to 2023. Here is your 2023 roster, Brooks. There you go, clubs represented. Look at that. There's way more. MLS.
And they lost the semifinal to Panama, and we know that was a shocking game.
Right.
But I mean, look at Turner played Arsenal for that point. Gaga was loaned out to Chelsea, and now he's pretty much nowhere now. He's doing horribly. Georgi Mihailovic was at AZ Alkmaar, and there are other guys in here that were at other places and whatnot. But, I mean, that was a majority MLS team with guys that were called in this time, like DeJuan Jones, but he had to leave for injury this year. And Sean Johnson's been inconsistent with Matt Turner. And, I mean, this team wasn't bad.
And like you said, there you go. Lost 5-4 in PKs in the semifinal, strange game. But there you go, majority. Let's click to 2021.
Yeah.
So here's your 2021. 4 players
from Europe.
Yep. Majority of the others from the MLS. And Gold Cup champions, 1-0 win over Mexico. Okay.
That was the one where the dramatic, where Mal Robinson, the cross in and boom and
okay.
So
this what you're
that was Nations League.
What you're showing me here is that
they can win with MLS players.
Win with
MLS. The right ones.
The right put together, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna say something at the end of this segment,
yeah, that's fine.
But what it's showing is with the right players,
yes.
MLS players, the right players in here, you can win.
Correct.
You're noticing people like Gianluca Busio, who's moved on, obviously, at this
Venezia,
point. But Costa.
Look at the commonality if you look at all these ones.
What players who work?
Paul Areola. If he wasn't injured, Paul Areola may be in this group again.
They're players who aren't afraid to get hurt. They're not afraid to tackle and put in the work.
Yep. Jordan Morris, Jazzy Zaris is a common one. Christian Roldan has been in like 3. If Seattle probably wasn't in the Club World Cup, maybe Roldan would have got called in again. And Jackson Reagan.
Okay. Let's go to 2019.
Yeah.
Here you go. Here's the 2019. So you have a couple more. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 European clubs represented. Cup and obviously 4 more than that. So you've got 9 and 10 there, MLS clubs, and they finished second place, lost 1-0 to Mexico in the final here. So again, MLS players,
the right ones.
Getting the job done.
Daniel Lovitz, like if you look at it, Daniel Lovitz plays for Nashville. Very hard. I think he was at Montreal at the time. Very hard worker. Gets up and down. Gets stuck in. Walker Zimmerman playing for LAFC. Gets stuck in. He showed the same thing the other night. I thought he was one of the better center backs. Him and Tim Ream, and then McKenzie was all right. Sure. But Nick Lima gets stuck in. Aaron Long, asshole, loves to get stuck in and tackle people. Reggie Cannon's fallen off the map. Omar Gonzalez, when he was in his prime, he could do that. Dwayne Holmes has fallen off. I know people weren't a Bradley fan, but like Bradley would get stuck in, and you could rely on him. Will Trapp was tough too. That's a young Christian Pulisic with Chelsea. Yep. Christian Roldan was younger with Seattle. Tyler Boyd in his heyday when he was doing well and everything. But like, hard workers.
Yep, hard workers. All right, last one, 2017, CONCACAF Gold Cup champions beating Jamaica 2-1 in the final.
This was at Bruce Arena.
And here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11 or 12 there. MLS teams, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 non-MLS teams, players representing here. So,
sorry, this is Klinsmann, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. So, but it's the right type of players.
It is. And listen, I wasn't a Joe Corona fan. Dax McCarty, I know you're not. You're not like fan, but hard worker.
But he got the work done.
He did.
Now, I am not a fan of Dax McCarty, but you put him next to the right players, or the two players who are creative
like
around him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do your job, Dax. Win soccer balls. Yeah. Please pass it to someone else who can see the game better.
Play simple.
Done.
You're good.
Put him in there. That's fine. Yeah. We could have used someone like him last night.
Exactly.
Because in the first half, there was no one laying tackles.
I think Berhalter would have been the guy. I think he was nervous. He had a better second half, but he is the one. Adam Morris would have been the filler of that group that would have got stuck in and not cared. But forwards, like that's when Dom Dwyer was scoring goals left and right. Agudelo was fine back then. Jazzy Zaris was hitting in goals. Morris was getting stuck in. Again, the back line, like Lehigh was over at Nottingham Forest, but Hedges, tough guy, winning balls in the air. Matt Beasler playing for SKC. Jorge Villafania was coming off, an MLS Cup a few years ago with Portland. He was at Santos Laguna at that point. Graham Zusi, tough as nails guy, and was a big guy that helped with the World Cup before then. So like again, hard workers. I mean, I don't love Joe Cronin in this group, but if you probably put everyone else in there, they were dying for the sleeve and the badge,
Right. And that's what we're hearing. Brooks, from the old guys who are trying to stay relevant.
Yes.
The Landon Donovan, the Tim Howard, the Clint Dempsey, the Kyle Martino, the Beasley. They're trying to stay relevant by putting these words out there. But they're not wrong in a lot of the sense, because a lot of these guys, you showed up yesterday and showed up against Turkey aren't willing to get dirty and put their head on the line. You know, we've all seen pictures of John Terry and
Bloody
Rio
head.
Ferdinand, bloody head. But
Yeah.
what do they do when someone's taking a shot? Put whatever they can in front of the ball to block that shot and make it legal.
Yes.
Didn't see that from anybody, not a single one.
Nope.
No one went into a tackle, a crunching tackle. They were beaten to every ball last
It wasn't until they got frustrated at the end when they started to actually go at people like Cardoso and Ajiman.
Yeah.
And I will say, I did say Ajiman was a fraud. He did change up a little bit with the physicality. He was up front. Unfortunately, I don't think Brian was paired. Luna came in and changed the game a bit.
Luna came in, but he worked hard, just a little out of his depth with the creativity and the work.
Sure. But no one was getting wide for him when he was trying to switch. No one released and got wide. Harrell was horrible at that, trying to release at times. Tolkien was getting used to it again.
Sure.
You know, but yeah.
I mean, God, Brooks, I don't even know what to say anymore, but it was bad. I'm embarrassed, and it needs to get better. 3 games against decidedly worse teams coming up here, so hopefully get back on track.
So for me, like, I can live with the 2-1 loss. I don't like how the goals were scored. If they were two legit goals, I would be like, okay, they lost 2-1.
Yep.
But the silly turnover with Cardoso to lead to the first one. I mean, listen, the second goal was banged back in. It was banging around and then found someone, you know. But like this 4-0 loss, like if we had lost 3-1 on 3 good goals and we scored 1, or 2-0 and there was 2 good goals, I could live with that.
Yeah.
But not when it's just
But not
lackadaisical.
a single shot on goal either.
Correct.
And just you were really looking at the lineup before going, okay, all
Maybe
right.
there's something.
Maybe
We
there's
got some
something
new
here.
guys.
There's some guys who want to come in and fight and bleed and really show something for these colors.
Yep. And I felt bad for Brendan Aronson because if he had not switched the formation to probably the 3-back, he probably would have stayed. Because him and Arfston, I thought were fine on the left side in that first half.
Sure.
They were creating stuff. We didn't get much from the right side, but you know.
I just disappointing to say the least.
Mhm.
The last thing I'll say is, can we get Greg Berhalter back in?
I
don't think this would have ended up 4-0 if Greg Berhalter was there. He would have picked the right players. You know, I don't think that's the answer. Let's put it that way. But kidding aside, just a giant embarrassment. And the only thing you do is put it behind you. Now, I think Mauricio Pochettino is going to be walking back the words he said a couple of weeks ago, where I think USA can win a World Cup in the next 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
I think he's going to look at last night's game and go, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have opened my mouth, and we're not close. We're not close as a nation.
Hard for him.
Switzerland.
Hard for him to say that, though. I mean, I think he's trying to be positive. But I
agree.
think he quickly found out how in training we look very good, but when it comes to a game time where we have to man up, that's the thing. In training we all look great, but then when we have to man up and become men and take things by the balls, a lot of them can't do that.
A lot of them shirk away
Yeah.
and hide.
They don't want the glory.
Yeah.
They don't want to be Michael Jordan or like the old school great athletes.
Oh, they might want it, but they're not willing to work and put their head on the line for it.
Exactly.
Right? So 100%.
They're not willing to be enough of an asshole to do it.
Well, Brooks, I think we can close down this little segment and say we'll wait till next week to see where the U.S. men's national team is at. Because, listen, if they lose to Trinidad and Tobago, the pitchforks and the fire sticks are going to be out for Pochettino.
Yeah.
Brooks?
I think he's only going to rotate of the 26.
What
He's
happens?
only going to rotate like 16 of them.
What happens if they go 1 win and 2 losses in the Gold Cup first 3 games?
They don't get out of their group. That's not good.
What happens to the Federation and Pochettino?
I mean, you invested money in this guy. You can't just get rid of him. Who's going to want to come in at the last second?
There'll be people.
Bruce Arena's busy at San Jose. What, are you going to get Bob Bradley back?
Yeah. Oh, hey! I'd rather have Brad Bobley.
I mean, I like Bob as a coach.
I don't mind him, but I think
he would instill culture, and I think he's very respectable, and he's not going to play favorites to people.
I don't think we have to worry about it. I think no matter what happens, the Federation will stick around and stick with Pochettino.